Stuck on a major choice? Let's see how you will handle this one.
I want to thank someone who once told me I wasn't enough. That moment changed my life. It pushed me to become who I am today.
He was just a bricklayer, a hard-working man with rough hands and a loyal heart. Every morning before the sun rose, he was already at work, carrying bricks, mixing cement, pushing his body beyond its limits. His clothes were always dusty, his hands always worn, but his heart remained strong, because he had someone to fight for. He married the love of his life, believing they would build their future together. He believed in love, in loyalty, in growing side by side. But she had a dream. She wanted more than the life they had. She wanted to become a lawyer. And he didn't hesitate. He made her dream his responsibility. So he worked day and night, under the burning sun, through pain and exhaustion, just to send her to school. He sacrificed everything for her. There were days he went hungry, nights he couldn't sleep, moments his body begged him to stop. But he kept going.
Take this and pay for your school fees. That is my life saving.
Years passed slowly. The struggle was heavy, but the dream stayed alive. And finally, she graduated. She stood tall, proud, accomplished. He watched her with tears in his eyes, clapping louder than anyone else. He felt like he had won too. But that was the moment everything began to change. She was called to the bar, and suddenly her world became different. New friends, new lifestyle, late nights, expensive places, people with money, power, status. "These are my calibers now," she said one night, laughing among people who looked nothing like the life she came from. At first, he didn't think much of it. He thought she was just adjusting. But slowly, she started coming home late. Then later, then not at all. The house grew quiet. The warmth they once shared disappeared. He would sit alone, waiting, hoping, holding on to memories that were already fading. Until one day, she walked in, cold, distant, like a stranger. She didn't smile. She didn't care. She simply looked at him and took off her wedding ring.
I am no longer interested in the marriage again.
He stood there, broken, confused, silent. Not because he didn't love her, but because he had given her everything. And somehow, it still wasn't enough. Soon after, she stopped coming home completely. She started dating a colleague, someone who fit her new world. And then, the divorce papers came. Signed, finished, gone. Just like that, the man who gave her everything was left with nothing. Or so it seemed, because what she didn't see was what she had just created. Pain has a way of changing people, and for him, it became fuel. He went back to work, but this time, something was different. He wasn't just working to survive anymore. He was working to rebuild, to prove, not to her, but to himself, that he was more than what she saw. Day after day, night after night, he pushed harder, learned more, observed everything. Because he was honest, because he was reliable, people began to notice him. They trusted him. At first, it was small opportunities. Help me manage this site, handle this project. He delivered every single time. Then came bigger responsibilities, bigger projects, more trust, more growth. Brick by brick, he was no longer just building walls. He was building a future. Years passed again, but this time, everything was different. The man who once carried bricks now owned the buildings. Construction sites turned into developments. Developments turned into estates. And the man who was once overlooked became a name people respected, a name people trusted, a name people admired. He became an estate developer, wealthy, successful, powerful, but still calm, still grounded. One day, he received an invitation, a prestigious event, a room filled with leaders, entrepreneurs, successful people. They wanted him to speak, to share his story. And on that day, he arrived not as the man he used to be, but as the man he had become. Dressed in a sharp suit, confident, composed, he walked onto the stage. The lights focused on him. The room fell silent. And as his eyes scanned the audience, he saw her, sitting there, the same woman who once looked at him and said he wasn't enough. But now her eyes told a different story. Shock, regret, pain. The man she had chosen over him was no longer in her life. He had left her. And now she sat there, watching the man she once walked away from become everything she thought he could never be. Tears filled her eyes. But this time there was no pride, only regret. He paused for a moment. Then he smiled, not out of revenge, not out of bitterness, but out of understanding. He stepped closer to the microphone and spoke. I want to thank someone.
I want to thank someone who once told me I wasn't enough. That moment changed my life. It pushed me to become who I am today.
And I am today. Tears rolled down her face because she knew he was talking about her. But he didn't call her out. He didn't shame her. He didn't break her the way she broke him. He simply told his truth. And in that truth, he showed his strength. When he finished speaking, the room erupted in applause. But he didn't look back. He adjusted his suit, stepped down from the stage, and walked forward, not as a man who lost everything, but as a man who found himself. And in the end, he didn't win because she left. He won because he refused to stay broken.